Hey there everybody, we are back with another deck profile tonight and we will be discussing Gaiomon. Gaiomon's just a Digimon that I've always been a huge fan of, and when we first got the Gaiomon card in BT9, I was just in love with it. I think it's a super strong card even to this day, and with the new support that we got in EX4 with another top end, I really wanted to make a deck that was sort of centered around Gaiomon as its centerpiece. I think you can do a lot of aggro plays with this deck. You really have that OTK potential, as does many of our red decks nowadays. But I think Gaiomon also has a very nice control aspect that you can use as well that can sort of have that sort of suffocating feel to it. So this is what I've tried to put together. Let me know what you guys think. The deck profile is right here for y'all right now as I'm talking to you, but it's also linked below in the video description. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so starting off with our eggs, we're going to be running 4 of the BT9 Koromon. BT9 Koromon, just during our turn, if this Digimon has Agumon or Greymon in name, you gain +1 KDP. Just for your DP buff, right? I think you really want to build up your stack as best you can, so kind of a staple in terms of recent red decks. Rookies, we will start off with 4 of the Searcher Agu from BT5. This Agumon, with how red has a tendency to brick, I think is very helpful. You know, you really want to be able to see your pieces, really want to be able to kind of find what you need to find as quickly as possible. So optimizing your search, particularly in the early game, is important, and that's why I opted for this Agu. I know some people will say, well, why not run the DP boost Agu? That's a fair thought as well, but I like the consistency part a little bit more, particularly with what this deck wants to do. So we're opting for 4 of this BT5 Agu. Next, along the idea of search, running 4 of the BT12 Agumon. Reveal top 4 cards of your deck. You can add 1 card with Wargreymon and 1 Tamer card with Tai Kamiya in name. Also can add an Omnimon along with the Greymon. And then you place the rest at your bottom. And then Inheritable is pretty nice to all turns. While this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in name, you gain +1 KDP. Nice in the sense that it is an all turns and not just a your turn. So again, helpful for that DP buff. So Searcher and the DP, can't go wrong with that. And then last but not least, running 4 of the BT9 Agumon X Antibody. It is a on play, or when digivolving, you get to search the top 3 once again, add a card with Greymon or Omnimon, and then add 1 X Antibody among them to your hand. So again, going along the theme of, right, searching for your pieces so that you can really build into your stack efficiently and as effectively as possible is key. Being able to play out any one of these like Searcher Agus and then immediately go into an Agu X Antibody lets you just cycle so much and gain so much value off of that. And you know, the faster you see your pieces with this deck, the quicker you're just going to be able to wipe the floor with your opponent. So again, going along the theme of just search optimization and consistency. And that'll do it for our level 3s. For our level 4s, we are just running 2 of the starter deck Greymon. The Greymon that gives you +1 check. A lot of aggro. You know, this is a red deck, so the aggro is going to be there. But I think running this at a 2 of is okay because we want to prioritize this Greymon, which is your EX1 Greymon. And why we want to prioritize this guy is that it's for the inheritable. When attacking, you're able to play a Tai Kamiya with a play cost of 3 or less from your hand without paying memory cost. So being able to spit out, spoiler alert, your BT12 Tai is just so key to the efficiency of this deck, the sort of efficacy, and as well as just being able to like quickly get up to where you want to be. It just gives so much value with this Greymon. So when you're able to just do that and put this guy out, swing with it, get out a Tai. You can do so much with it. So that's why I'm prioritizing this Greymon as opposed to the security Greymon. And then to round it out, we're running 4 of the BT9 Greymon X Antibody. Still a really good card in terms of overall protection. You know, all turns when this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in name, you can strip 2 if this is going to be deleted by effect or returned to your hand or deck. So if you're to straight up option delete it, you can strip for protection. If you're being bounced to back to hand or bounced to your deck, you can strip 2 sources to keep it in play. It does not protect against DP reduction or things like chaos degradation or Lonky, but still I think one of the best X Antibody cards here in terms of just protection. And then we are rounding it out with 1 of the limited Greymon X Antibody from BT11. Similar to its counterpart from BT9, you are able to give it protection against option like effect deletion as well as sort of removal from the field, meaning that the target is the hand or the deck. But the caveat or the main difference being is that you can remove an X antibody. So it's not like you're removing sources. You have to have an X antibody underneath for this to be effective. What really made this a menace when it was not limited is you could reduce the Digivolution cost by some of your Digimon for 1 for each color that it has. So for example, our next level 5 spoiler is this Metal Greymon. You can reduce it for a cost of 2. Meaning that you can essentially go into this for a 1 cost by its effect here. So really helped you turbo into your top end here. So while we've got this guy out, you know, one of the level 5s that we're playing is the BT12 Metal Greymon. Pretty good card in the sense that it has raid, meaning that you can swing at one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with the highest DP. Granted that, you know, you can swing over it, of course. All turns if you switch an attack target, meaning that you declare a security attack, but then you use raid to say, okay, we're going to raid and go into your highest DP. So when you switch targets, you can play out a red or black Tamer with a play cost of 4 or less. So you can play out one of your ties, whether it's, you know, your memory setter tie or your BT12 tie. And then Inheritable is not bad either when this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in name and gains Piercing. So this is really just effective because you're able to spit out Tamers, you know, if you're able to kind of do that raid effect. So paired with your EX1 Greymon, a lot of bang for your buck there. And then last level 5 is 4 of this BT9 Metal Greymon X Antibody. When digivolving, until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon can't be DP reduced by opponent's effect. Direct counter against things like Shine Greymon and decks like Kintarosmon that we've talked about. If there is a Metal Greymon in name, you can delete something with a 6k DP or less. So sometimes that'll pop like an annoying level 4 or memory blocker. You can also get protection against the Digivolve as well. So pretty good in terms of just overall making sure that your body sticks into the next turn. I really like the Inheritable for this guy. The Inheritable is when a Digimon becomes unsuspended during your opponent's turn. If this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, you can trash the top card of your opponent's security. So as you'll see with our top end, that'll happen a whole lot, which means your opponent's on a ticking time bomb where they gotta be able to deal with what you have. Otherwise, they're gonna constantly be trashing security. So yeah, this is our level 5s. Moving on to our level 6s, we are running 3 of the EX4 Gaiomon, which is the brand new Gaiomon that we got in the latest EX4 set. So when digivolving, it has a pretty interesting effect. So you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 13 or more, meaning that like it's a big body, right? So if you don't delete anything with a play cost of 13 or more, you go ahead and trash the top card of your opponent's security stack, which is not a bad like either or, right? Like either you're getting rid of a big body or you're just getting rid of their top security card. At the end of your turn, you're allowed to digivolve into another Digimon with Gaiomon in name without paying the play cost. So that's also pretty clutch because the next level 6 we are playing is 4 of the BT9 Gaiomon over here. So if you can imagine, you go into Gaiomon here, the EX4 one to start. You don't pop anything, so you trash the top of security, and then you do whatever you need to do to pass turn. By passing turn, you can then go into Gaiomon here for free. You don't have to pay its Digivolution cost. And this Gaiomon, having a red source as well as a black source, you can de-digivolve one, and then you also have Blitz. So then you're able to Blitz. You have security check +1 inherently. You may be able to throw on more additional security checks, and then you have Reboot. So this is a very quick way to kind of out of left field OTK somebody, and they're like, "Well, what just happened?" Right? So being able to see both of these guys go into Gaio, then go into this Gaio, and pretty much OTK is just huge, like one quick burst play, which is really what Red wants to do. The fact that it has Reboot paired in with your BT11 Metal Greymon X Antibody means that it will unsuspend, and then that effect to trash top card or security will proc as well. So I think Gaio is just really, really good. I think potential downfalls of Gaio is that it is a bit on the weaker side, at 13k inherently, which is why you really want to optimize your DP buffing effects, which we will be getting into very shortly. But that rounds out our level 6s. To round out the Digimon, we are just playing one of the Omnimon X Antibody. I think this is a card that allows you to maybe just kind of close out games if you're missing that extra security check. Digivolve for 3 from an Omnimon, which doesn't matter for us. When Digivolving, though, you can return all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level to the bottom of their deck. So effectively getting rid of one of their big bodies. And then when Digivolving or when attacking, you can bottom deck a level 6 or an X Antibody option card from your stack to reveal their security. And then you can go ahead and trash one of the security cards when doing so. So common play that we'll go into is like if you go with Gaio, you're able to swing, right? And then by swinging, you can proc X Antibody effect to go into Omni X Antibody, trash their last security, and then Omni swinging for game at that point. So that's a very nice common like finisher play that you'll often see with this deck. And we'll go into a little bit more of an in-depth one later. To talk about our Tamers, we are running 2 of the Memory Setter Tai from BT1. Sets your memory to 3, and then if you have 4 or more Digivolution cards, you gain security check +1. So helpful for that additional aggro that this deck already has. And then the last Tamer we're running is 4 of our BT12 Tai Kamiya. It's a 3 cost to play. Start of your main phase, one of your Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in name gets +1 KDP and blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. So this is where you can really ramp up your DP buffs. So having multiple of these guys out on top of some of your inheritables really make your guys big enough where you can confidently swing into security and not be worried about like hitting something bigger and then dying. During your turn 2, this card, if you're Digivolving one of your Digimon into a card with Greymon or Omnimon in name, you can suspend this Tamer to gain a memory. So really making your plays a lot more efficient and a lot more cost effective, which as a red deck sometimes is a struggle. So this really helps with that. options, we are running just 2 red memory boost. Deck space is tight, and I feel like that's why I wanted to maximize my searchers and the rookies. You know, I know most red decks nowadays will be running like 3 red memory boosts just because the propensity to brick is so high. But that's why with my searchers, I'm like, well, look, you know, if I find the rookie that lets me search, we'll just go ahead and search with it in place of the boost. And I think in terms of memory efficiency, like there are ways to get around it with the new Tai, with the Greymon X Antibody. So I think just running 2 memory boost is sufficient. We're running 2 X Antibody options. It's Ignite Security Bomb. You know, you gain a memory when it's checked in security and you add it to hand. But mainly it allows for some of these like high efficiency end game plays where you're able to kind of swing, go into your next boss monster, and kind of move on that way. And obviously synergizes very well with your Greymon X Antibody from BT13. And then to round out the deck, we are running 2 Hades Force. Hades Force is just very, very good. When you would use this card, if there's an X Antibody within the Digivolution stack, you can reduce the cost by 2, making it essentially a 5 cost to play. And then after that, main effect is to choose any number of your opponent's Digimon and or Tamers, whose combined play costs add up to a Greymon of your choosing. So for example, like if you were to pick Gaiomon here, which is a play cost of 12, you can pick any number of your opponent's Digimon and or Tamers that add up to a cost of 12 and just delete them. And then after that, this Digimon is able to swing. So you can get so much value off of it. The Tamer hate with this deck is still very possible. So running into decks like Hunters, Blue Flare even can be a pretty nice feeling where you can just say, okay, well, you've got your resources tucked, fine, we'll just Hades Force. Have fun, you know, have fun setting your board up back again. So Hades, I think, is very clutch in that regard, in those matchups in particular. And that is the deck profile. You know, I think what you really want to be doing with this deck is just trying to get into this Gaiomon as quickly as possible and making sure that you are able to see this Gaiomon as well. I think a common mistake that I've made at times and that I can see happening is that you go into this Gaiomon and you don't have this guy ready to go. Because you don't have this guy ready to go, this guy sort of just sits there, right? He's a 12k body with, you know, sometimes you can have the protection, but more often than not, it's also not that difficult to just straight up DP reduce someone who's 12k. So removing that really hurts. You really want to be able to make sure that when you go into this Gaio, you pair it up with this BT9 Gaiomon, because then you're really able to just power through. Because, you know, like I said, if you have, you know, the stack that is sort of ideal here, right? You know, you're pretty much going into this Gaiomon. You trash the top of their security. Great. You end of turn. You go into this Gaiomon, assuming you've got a Tai Kamiya in play. You can then blitz, swing Gaio. It'll be 1, 2, 3 checks. End of turn, you reboot, proccing the Metal Gray X Antibodies effect to trash their last remaining security. And they are now staring at a very big stack with potential protection, and they have 0 security. So I just think it's a very, very quick aggro deck that is a very stable, you know, that's just what Red wants to do. What it does miss at times is just consistency, which is the struggle with a lot of the red decks, right? You know, if you don't hit the pieces you need, or you don't find the search pieces that you need, you're sort of just like in a bad spot, right? Sometimes you're stuck playing a level 5, just hard playing it because you have nothing else to do. You're just playing Tamers, waiting for the right stack, and by the time you get everything, your opponent's already done what they want to do. So that's the one thing I see this struggling with. But I think in terms of overall aggro, like this surprisingly has a lot of aggro and can end games really, really fast. So I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. I do really, really like it. I do like this over the BlackWarGreymon variant just because I feel like it's a little bit more fun for me to play. So yeah, I mean that is the deck for y'all. Let me know what you guys think. The deck photo, like I said, should be at the beginning of the video, but also at the video description down below. If you like what you're seeing, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe to our channel. We really want to see the community grow, so we really appreciate all the support. And with that being said, we'll see you on the next one.